Hey, good morning, guys. I'm the Tech Prepper. First, I want to thank everybody who is sticking out and hanging out with the channel. And I do appreciate everybody who's subscribing, commenting, sharing, and liking. So please continue to help support the channel if you like the content. I was not going to make this video. This is the final video in the RV lithium iron phosphate battery upgrade. And the last thing I need to do is change out the charge converter and or the power converter slash charger for one that is compatible with lithium iron or lithium ion battery chemistries. And so if you do have the model coach I have, do have this similar system I have, stick around. If not, we'll catch you in the next video. So I want to make sure that we're all on the same page in terms of what we're installing and what systems I have. So to start, I have a Coachmen Leprechaun from 2018. It's model 240FS. And I have a power center from a company called WFCO. And this was factory installed, at least in my coach. And it came with a series of the series that it came with was the WF-8900 series, and specifically the model that I had was the WF-8955, and that was for the lead acid battery chemistries. And there's a problem with that board, a couple problems. One is that it won't charge the batteries past 90%, at least according to the conversation I had with a technician at WFCO. It also has 3 modes of operation. Bulk mode for doing quick charging. That mode typically runs 4 hours and will run at 14.4 volts. And then it has a nominal mode or absorption mode that's used to run most of the time, and typically that window is about 44 hours. And this is the one that is running at 13.6 volts. And then it has a third mode of operation that's designed for what we call float or trickle charge, and it's really just to keep the batteries topped off. The new board's a little bit different. It's only a 2-stage charger inverter or charger converter, and it just has bulk and absorption mode. The bulk mode, the voltage is a little bit different. It runs at 14.6 volts instead of 14.4, and it only runs in that mode from 1 to 4 hours. And then the second mode that it supports is absorption, and that's the mode that it runs in all the time. And it's at the same voltage at 13.6 for the nominal mode. I did forget to mention that in bulk mode, the other thing it does, in addition to quick charging the battery, it does balance the individual cells to make sure that both batteries have the same voltage. So what we're going to be doing today is, oh, and I should mention which replacement board I bought, and I'm going to have to read this one off. It is WF-8950L2-MBA. I'll put that in the description below. I actually also bought this one on Amazon at the time that I purchased it, maybe 6 weeks ago. It ran me, I think, $215 with shipping. So we're going to jump into the install. I won't have any power and not great lighting, so I do apologize in advance. But what we're going to do to start is I'm going to turn off the breaker on the generator first. That's outside the coach. Then I'm going to turn off the battery disconnect on the inside of the coach. Sorry guys, I thought my phone got disconnected. And then on the inside of the power center, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the main breaker. And then there are 2 reverse polarity fuses that I'll be removing. At that point, we're going to remove the door and the enclosure. We have a couple of wires to loosen. We could take the tray out, remove the cables, take out the board, and then do everything in reverse. All right, guys, let's go ahead and jump into the install. All right, guys, let's get started with this install. The first thing we want to do is make sure that there's no power going into the RV. So disconnect shore power, turn off the breaker for your generator, turn off the battery disconnect, and then go over to the power center panel and turn off the main 30 amp breaker. And if you want, go ahead and turn off all the breakers. Then there'll be two 40 amp fuses. These are the reverse polarity fuses. Go ahead and pull those out. They will cut DC power that's coming from the batteries themselves. Next, there are two screws, one in the upper left-hand corner and one in the upper right-hand corner. Go ahead and unscrew those. They won't come out because they are captive screws. And then once they have been unscrewed far enough, you should be able to remove the lid enclosure. With those captive screws loosened, we should be able to remove the door assembly and expose the entire unit. Next, let's go ahead and loosen the negative lug, the white wire, on the fuse board. Next, let's go ahead and loosen the red wire, the VCC plus lug. And do not back out the screws all the way, just enough so that we can remove the cable. Now the next part was somewhat difficult for me. At the bottom of the fuse board, there's a little plastic retaining clip. I had to use a flathead screwdriver to gently press it down so that I could actually pull the fuse board out a bit. Okay, in this next step, we're going to go to the AC portion of the enclosure and identify a black cable that's coming from the bottom of the converter into a breaker. You'll probably want to have handy a Robertson head or a square screw head to be able to make this easy. Just disconnect that cable. In my case, it was stripped, and I spent quite a bit of time on this step. I did have a neighbor who did help me ultimately remove the screw that some ding-dong at the factory over-torqued. Alright guys, we're almost done. So the next thing we want to do is continue to work on the AC portion of the enclosure and identify the green ground wire attached to the AC ground bar and remove it. Next, we're going to go ahead and locate the white neutral wire on the AC neutral bar and remove that as well. And at this point we have all of the wires properly disconnected, and we should just be able to identify two screws on the board that we're replacing, remove those, and slide out our tray. And then optionally, if you want, go ahead and clean your compartment. So at this point, I'm not going to go and show the full install. I will, however, show the slide, the tray being put back into its new position. And then basically all you need to do is go through and do all of these steps in reverse order, all the way through turning on all the power. All right, so the next thing we're going to look at is, now that I have everything installed properly, I want to go ahead and take some measurements, and we'll jump to that video next. Alright guys, now that the install is complete and all the power has been turned on, I wanted to run a very quick test. So the first thing I'm doing is testing the voltage on the batteries with no shore power or generator power yet. I just want to see what the voltage is. And the readings are coming in at 13.33 volts. The next thing that I have done is I have been running the generator now for a solid hour so that I could test the bulk mode of charging. And it looked really good. So this is a second reading after 1 hour of running the generator, and we're at 14.3 volts. So I'm not the handiest guy in the world, but I was able to work through this myself. This is a great time to learn to be self-sufficient. So hopefully you guys have got some value out of seeing me walk through the lithium iron phosphate battery upgrade. All right guys, be strong, be safe, and be prepared.